The controversial Reagan ad that President Trump says is the reason he stopped trade talks will not run tonight during the World Series. And this morning, Prime Minister Mark Carney says he's hopeful talks will resume.
We represent Canada. We are going to fight for Canadians. We are only going to agree to a deal through a negotiation that is in the best interests of Canadians.
That is Prime Minister Mark Carney speaking earlier this morning from Malaysia. After President Trump told reporters on Air Force One he's still mad at Canada. So for a closer look at what's driving this latest trade tensions, I'm joined by Bob Fife. He's the Ottawa Bureau Chief for the Globe and Mail. Bob, good to have you with us this morning.
Good morning.
So just a few hours ago, on board Air Force One, U.S. President Donald Trump was asked whether he plans on meeting with Prime Minister Carney at this week's APEC summit. We'll play for everybody what he had to say.
I don't want to meet with him. No, I'm not going to be meeting with him for a while. No, I'm very happy with the deal we have right now with Canada. We're going to let it ride.
Well, we have Secretary
Ride is where he says the deal stands with Canada right now. He will not be meeting with them anytime soon. Carney, meantime, says they're ready to talk whenever the U.S. is ready to sit down, so there's no timeline of when that would be. What I'd love to know from you is what's happening behind the scenes. Does this mean on both sides all emails stop, all phone calls stop?
No, I don't believe so. I'm pretty certain that Dominic LeBlanc and Ambassador Kristen Hillman, who is our chief negotiator, are still talking to the Americans. Look, the Prime Minister is taking a very mature approach on this. Donald Trump has thrown a tantrum. He's upset because of these ads, and boy, he's so angry he's going to hit us with 10% tariffs and sticks his tongue out at us and saying, I'm not going to meet with the Prime Minister at the APEC summit. As you know, with this president, he could change his mind in 30 seconds and there could be a meeting at the APEC. So I wouldn't put any money on any of that. But I think the government's approach is absolutely right. Let him have his tantrum, and then hopefully we can get back to the negotiating table. You have to remember, yes, Canada is being hurt by this, but it's not as if the Americans are not being hurt as either. You know, these tariffs are being paid by American consumers. You know, I'll give you an example. They need Canadian aluminum. They do not have the capacity to manufacture aluminum in the United States for a number of reasons, but it would take at least a decade or more to do so. And I don't think even then they would have the capacity. So they need Canadian aluminum. They're paying 50% tariffs on aluminum. On Canadian lumber, we provide 25% of the U.S. lumber market. It would take the Americans, they would have to build 70 mills, new mills, to be able to make up for the Canadian lumber. So right now, American consumers are paying 45% tariffs on softwood lumber, which the U.S. Home Builders Association says could add a 15% price increase. So if you look at that, in the government strategy may be, look, this is going to bite the American consumers at some point, and it's going to lead to layoffs. So, you know, if they don't want to do a deal, eventually they're going to have to, because there's going to be domestic pressure to do so. The other factor, of course, is a U.S. Supreme Court decision that's coming down right now. And there's a very good chance it will throw out these Trump tariffs, because he's imposed all these tariffs on Canada and other countries around the world, including many allies, but he has not had congressional authority. And these are billions and billions, and actually some cases trillions of dollars, it may be, in terms for tariffs. So, and you can't do these kind of tariffs without congressional approval.
Yeah, like they say in a marriage, it's never about the toothpaste when there's a squabble. It's always about something else. So it could be about the Supreme Court case. Let's look at the timeline in the calendar. Mark Carney has a budget that's coming out next week. We don't know if this 10% is being slapped on Canada, and if so, when. But could the impact of that have any impact on what we see or hear in the budget?
Yeah, I think it might. I think they have probably various scenarios on this, although the budget is probably largely locked in. I think one of the reasons they were really trying to get a deal on steel and aluminum and energy, so that would be a calculus for them in terms of what kind of support they may need for the steel industry or for aluminum workers, for example. And it looks like there's no deal going to happen anytime soon. So I think you're going to see, we don't really know what this budget is going to be, but obviously it's going to have to be a lot of money turned to try to help workers who are affected. And we'll have to see the kind of major investments that the Prime Minister seems to be talking about to try to turn so we can create jobs here at home, but also diversify our trade. A lot of that information, we're still not sure how it's going to unfold. We'll have to wait for the budget for that. But he is talking about perhaps one of the most significant budgets Canadian people have seen since 1995, 96, when Paul Martin and Jean Chrétien cut spending down to the bone because we were so deeply in debt.
You know, two things to keep in mind, Bob, just before we let you go. One, I'm curious about what's happening behind the scenes between Carney's camp and Doug Ford's camp, you know, with the release of the ad, the late pullback of the ad, but also, you know, looking ahead to this meeting with China. You've got U.S. President Donald Trump is meeting with China. Separately, Mark Carney is meeting with China. Both of these leaders have very big deals to either work out or iron out. How could that impact what we see happening between Canada and the U.S. later on?
That's a very good question. I don't think we're at any stage right now in terms of getting the Chinese to lift their ban on Canadian canola, because I don't think Canada is in a position right now to lift the ban on Chinese electrified vehicles just because of the concerns we have with the United States. But the fact that the Prime Minister and the President Xi can at least open up a dialogue, I think down the road we can hopefully get our relationship back on track. It'll never be perfect for Chinese foreign interference in Canada and all the other, you know, the threats to Taiwan and whatnot. But it's our second largest trading partner, and we need to be able to get along with them on an economically so that both countries can profit. So I think this is a very important stepping stone, but I don't think it's going to be a breakthrough. And in terms of your question about Doug Ford, look, he obviously didn't think that this was going to cause the president to have a big tantrum and hit us with 10% tariffs. But I think there's a message here for the premiers is to stay out of this and let the Prime Minister handle the trade negotiations with the United States. Just stay out of it. Try to do a Team Canada approach as much as possible. We've got a madman in the White House, and there's no reason to poke the bear unnecessarily.
Bob Fife, Ottawa Bureau Chief for the Globe and Mail. Great to have you with us this morning. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.